everyone, my name is Tina, and welcome to my, oh my god, oh my, time flies and it seems like it's already time for a new special program this Friday for Luna 2. There is just so much to dissect on this splash art, but before jumping into all of those theories, I want to first quickly talk about the title for this special program, because as always, I think there is a lot more behind it than people would think first. If you remember, Inefa's Archon quest was called Prelude, then in Luna 1 we got Segue, or in other languages Exposition, and all that follows the well-known Sonata form. With this knowledge, we should have expected the next chapter to be development, but instead we completely skipped that and went to recapitulation or reprise. For those who don't know, Sonata form very simplified, reprise is a repetition of the exposition with some alterations. It heavily resembles how we heard so many times that the future reflects the past, and could be related to how in Luna 2 we will see some repetition of what we learned previously. And also, interestingly, this would be basically the end of the sonata. There is still a possible optional ending called Coda or Goda, and I do think that will be the title of Luna 3, but that raises so many questions. This storyline might potentially end in Luna 3, and we should be getting some kind of a conclusion to the Song of the Welkin Moon. But what even is the Welkin Moon? We actually haven't heard about it that much. Welkin could mean emptiness, the sky, the heavens, and there is a moon that we basically only heard in one occasion. Obviously, the blessing of the Welkin Moon. I talked about this a lot previously, but if you got a Welkin Moon through like giveaways and such, it will give you an item, and that item's description says that the Welkin Moon was the first moon we've seen in Tibet. We know that the moon we know in the sky is fake, so either it refers to that fake moon, or it's a very old theory of mine, but it also could be Paimon. We did encounter her only after about 3 months of our second awakening, and the figure in the blessing really resembles her. I really hope in Luna 2 we get some more information about who actually is Paimon, because she has been one of the most mysterious characters in Genshin. But there is also a chance we won't find out anything about the Welkin Moon until Luna 3, and we don't have any idea what happens after with the titles, so I'll leave the discussion to a later date. Another interesting thing in this title is the name of the patch, an elegy for faded moonlight in English, and this time it's about the same in other languages too. In Japanese it's more like thinking deeply about the moonlight that now has disappeared, and in Chinese it's also similar, like gazing back upon the vanished moonlight. Now, a lot of you might think that this is about the frost moon, the real moon behind the false sky, but I think we have a lot of hints pointing towards that not being the case. And the first hint glaring us in front of Rerir is Arlecchino. What is she doing here? A very obvious answer to this question being the Crimson Moon, of which she is probably a descendant of. The Crimson Moon dynasty was one of Kanria's dynasties before the last Eclipse dynasty, and it lasted some time until the Archon War. Our knowledge of that comes mostly from Perinheri, as well as the Natsunkreutsordo, and we know it was during this dynasty when Kanria tried to summon people into Tibet as a way to fight against the gods, and it was also the time when they mastered the art of alchemy. In the We Will Be Reunited video, we also see a moon that looks like it might be the Crimson Moon, even though the Cataclysm was well within the Eclipse Dynasty's time frame. But we also know from the web event that when the iridescent moon shattered, the Crimson Shadow sank into the Abyssal Sea. Kanria being this underground civilization, it's possible that the Abyssal Sea was referring to Kanria, and while once again the timelines don't really match up, at least it suggests that the Crimson Moon and the iridescent moon have some kind of connection. And why do I talk so much about the Crimson Moon, about this iridescent moon, this dark red moon? Because of one line from Rerir, one mysterious line calling out the visionary, gold, and THOLINDIS. The sinners have obvious connections to Rerir, but the third name, THOLINDIS, is a new one. And what does this name mean? Without going too sciencey, THOLINDIS is a substance that can be found on planets' atmospheres as well as the moon and has a reddish color. While this is a feminine suffix in a lot of languages, but in Old Norse, which is the base for most of Nordkrei's lore, it can mean goddess or at least a protective lady. So THOLINDIS might be the moon goddess of the iridescent moon. We will certainly find out more about her connection to Rerir, and that is absolutely the reason why Arlecchino is here in Nordkrei 2. We know that the iridescent moon's fragments were never found, and we can see Rerir is fighting with Columbina for the moon marrow. So why is Rerir so obsessed with the moons? Why he wants to gain the remains of Aurea, the goddess of the frost moon? Likely to either find the moon marrow of the iridescent moon, or at least know more about her. Given how sad Rerir sounded, it could be a relative of his, or maybe his lover too. And that's when I wanna go back to the title, an elegy of faded moonlight. Because I have a feeling this faded moonlight is not referring to the frost moon, but the iridescent moon, and that's how Rerir is mourning THOLINDIS, the moon goddess of it. And I just want to mention a few more things. For example, how there is a popular theory about the mad monk Rauthvangi being Rerir. Given the fact how Rauthvangi was also from Caria, he also played with abyssal power, and after his death, it is said that he will rise again from the pitch black field, which is the abyss. However, as time goes on, I believe this less and less. Rauthvangi was exiled from Caria before the Cataclysm, and he wasn't really a big name there, so it would be weird if Dawnslave recruited him. Rauthvangi's story is also never mention of other sinners either, so while there is probably some kind of connection between them, I think the timelines just don't really match for them to be the same person. Nonetheless, Rerir being the leader of the Wild Hunt, he also have many ops, and the big one shown in the splash art is of course Varka. I had a somewhat similar thought process with him and Reed Miller, another historical figure, with the legendary thief in later years hiding his face, some speculating because of a scar, and him knowing of Rauthvangi after the mad monk telling him to escape Tibet as both being chosen ones. But Varka's scar could come from a lot of places as well, so I feel like this is an even weaker connection. Nonetheless, the ending of Luna 1's Archon Quest with Varka and Rerir meeting will definitely be a major point of this new patch, especially since they meet where the Traveler spaceship has landed. Just taking one last look at the splash art, we see Nefer once again, who will likely become playable soon. We see Paimon looking at the Moon Meadow, we see the Traveler, and finally Durin too. I really hope with Durin we will learn more about the Sinners, being one of Rindotir's creations, but honestly, that might be a bit too loaded for one patch, so it probably will be expanded later on when eventually we meet all the other witches who are in Notcry. Finally, I'll leave you with just a theory that has no base in anything. I just read it the other day and I thought it was pretty fun to think about. Columbina so far hasn't shown her eyes, so there is a chance that she's actually blind, while another character we've seen in the Notcry trailer is Nicole, who we know is mute and only communicates into people's brains. If you really let your imagination go, you might recall a motif often pictured by 3 monkeys, one who cannot talk, one who cannot see, and one who cannot hear. It would be really fun if Nicole is also a moon goddess, or at least in some ways connected to either the iridescent or the eternal moon, and that would mean there could be a character who cannot hear and is connected to the other. If somehow we find out, for example, that THOLINDIS is deaf, that would be a massive hint of Nicole actually being connected to the eternal moon, but this is really just something I read and it was so crazy I had to share. Anyways, I think this is all that I could talk about from just this announcement post. As always, if you found anything else, if you have a great theory, or if you just have some questions, feel free to write me a comment. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give a like, and if you want to see more content like this, then make sure to subscribe. There will be a lot more coming this Friday, and as per usual, I will stream my reaction to the special program on both here at YouTube and also on Twitch at Sunshine Hina. But thank you everyone for watching me. I was Tino, my Genshin channel, and see you in the next one. Bye bye!